This is what you get. I don't know who you are, but I feel like you deserve this. Alright, that cringy ass display is over. What's up, everybody? The RedSon lives, and I didn't fuck up this time making anything. Not once did I fuck up in the middle of this. I didn't accidentally take a picture instead of recording. So I feel like I'm on a good schedule this time. I'm on a roll. Just a little bit of one. Not an actual roll. Just more like I started my job okay. I didn't start up here. I started, like, you got to work on time. uh, Speaking of things that are on time limits, can we just all appreciate that there's all the crazy shit that happens in the world. There's all this, like, death, famine, and starvation. But we can always rely on one thing: fucking yard sales. Yard sales are the shit. That is the one reason I like. Like, there are 9,000 reasons for me to go and move to the city because it seems so much better. But the one thing I like living in a place that I do, like this weird kind of in the middle of nowhere, but still in like a country community, is that yard sales are the shit. Seriously. You ever think about that? You ever, like, just the fact that that you could, it's like, oh, it's Sunday, I guess I'll just go get something to eat since I got a day off. And it's like 2 in the after, or it's like noon, and you've been up for like 3 hours, and you're like, well, I'm lazy. I'm gonna go ahead and drive on up to, I don't know, McDonald's or whatever. And like on your way up there, you're like, oh, I'm gonna take a left this time. I usually like the scenery that way. And you start driving by these just people's houses, and you see like, oh, there's a sign, yard sale. And drive by, and it's all these fucking colors of just everything the world can ever imagine. And you find this crazy shit that people are just like, yeah, $3. Why'd you hold up $2 then? $5 for everything on that blanket. And I get like, what is it? It's just a bunch of random shit that costs 20 cents a piece. Seriously. I've never been to a yard sale where I didn't walk away with more than what I had. I walked into one and I was like, this isn't gonna be nothing. I saw a big ass book of Pokemon cards when I was like 7 when I did this. Not to say Pokemon cards aren't fucking cool, I just don't collect them anymore. I don't have the time or the money. But it's fucking awesome. I walk in there, I'm like, oh, how much for this? He's like, $10. I'm like, $10? Fuck yeah. And I picked the thing up. I gave him 12 just because he was nice, and I left. That was the shit when I was a kid. Or you walk in there and you see like somebody giving away, like, yeah, I couldn't find anybody who would do it. Because when you live in the country and people have yard sales, nobody gives a fuck about the internet. Nobody's like, I'll sell it on eBay. I'll make my own listing on, like, whatever. Nobody does that. Everybody is just like, I don't know how much it would have cost to get rid of this, but I'm slapping a $5 bill. I'm slapping a sticker that says $5 on it, and the first person who gets their ass down here can have it. That would be fucking awesome. Do you know, like, everybody who lives in the city who's never been to an actual yard sale, you're missing out on so much. It's so fucking fun. Like, you're hanging out with your grandparents because you're having a nice day, and they're like, you want to go yard sale? And you're like, not really. And then you, like, once you get into their car and you're halfway down the street and you start seeing, like, oh, it's Sunday. Person. And they're all lined up. And it's just like, you could go for a 15-minute walk around the neighborhood and then come back with 3 new jackets, 15 pairs of shoes. You don't know why you have an odd number of shoes, but you have it because they were selling one, buy 2, get 1 free. and you weren't good at math. But once you get to, and then by the end of it, you're like, well, I've spent about $17. I think I'm good. And you turn around and this guy's selling a dirt bike for $35. And you're like, what's wrong with it? He's like, I ain't using it no more. Can't nearly use it half the time. You might need to get new tires, but other than that, it's working right. And then you walk away with like, what happened? I spent $50 and I got a fucking dirt bike. And more clothes than I've originally owned in my life. Like, it's so awesome. You never appreciate them as a kid, and then when you turn into an adult and you realize, oh shit, even if I want new pants, Goodwill is still going to charge $5 at minimum, at most $50. It's like, oh, they're really designer and they're still in good condition. We can sell these for a good amount. And then you go to the place where Goodwill originally picked it up, which is a lady's yard, and you find out, oh, they sold them for $5 for 17 pairs. You pick up all of them, the person's like, thanks for doing business, and they walk away, sucker, and you're sitting there doing the exact same thing, like hugging your big block of pants. And it feels amazing going there. Especially when you find stuff that you did not expect people to just outright sell. Like, I went to one when I was a kid, and a guy was selling like big stacks of comic books. Not like graphic novels or anything like that. Like, they were selling like the thin 50-page comics or whatever amount. I don't buy the comics in that size. I buy those. And every single time the guy would always do, I went like, oh, this is before I was into comics. I'm like, that's cool looking. And then at the very end, without shame whatsoever, there was just a big stack of Hustler and Playboy magazine. And I didn't know what they were, so I walked away, and I was just like, cool. Out. And then I don't know why, but that thought has stuck with me for the past 10 years, and I have not, for the life of me, remembered, like, where is that guy's house? Did somebody else buy it? Should I seek him out? Something stuck in my mouth and it kept getting down. It's gross. But like all those different things, I feel like it's the generosity of people that nobody shows anywhere else except for like a country suburban area. Country suburban areas are the nicest and most generous people in the world because they're the people that like, oh, we live out here in the country, and instead of having like, oh, we have 500 feet of front lawn and then it's somebody else's front lawn. No, it's like we have 2 acres in that direction and 2 acres in that direction, and it's a little bit of a walk to go see somebody who's just over there. It's not that bad, but it is kind of a problem if you want to go get something from your house and you have to go all the way to his house. I'm like, that sounds pretty lame. It's like, when I open up these, I can get all these different people show up. They're all happy to see what I got, and I've had all this stuff collected up in my shit for the past 15 years. Might as well get rid of it. And he's like an NES that the guy's son just, like, decided to give away because he didn't need it. He's like, yeah, I'm 27 now, and I have a PlayStation, or I have an Xbox, I have a PC, whatever the fuck. That's just... There's generosity in people that only shows up in yard sales. And they're always friendly. If you live in like the best way that I can put it is civilized neighborhood, and you have a yard sale there, everybody who runs it is an asshole. Like, angry. They don't want to get rid of their stuff, but they feel like they need to, but they don't want to set up an eBay account because they don't trust those people or they don't trust Craigslist. It's was like, why can't I just donate? It's like, I spent money on this. I might as well sell it. And they're like, all right. And then they get mad every single time a person steps on their lawn to like, oh, you selling an old bike? My little girl over there, she's been wanting a bike for the longest period of time. And you can see in his eyes, he's like, fuck your kid, get off my lawn. I don't know. There's some crazy things that you find in just you find crazy shit in there all the time. Like I found like an entire box of just movies that were not good. Like they were sequels to movies that were good, but they were super unnecessary. And this guy was selling a whole box of them. That's what's called a transition. On to the next thing. Uh, you ever notice that people make that there's so many unnecessary sequels in the world? Like not even to just movies. Like there are certain ones to games, or certain ones to but I don't want to say books because I don't like read normal books all too often. But if I did, I would still have opinions for certain things because there's a difference between like a long and lengthy story that goes on for like chapter after chapter after chapter and leads into the next book and the next sequel, and you're trying to like get this whole picture of what a person is by like branching it out and pushing further. But there are some things that are unnecessary and unneeded. Like, uh, first one that came to mind was there was the Expendables movie, which was cool, but didn't really know what it was doing, even though it had all the components for what it needed. The sequel to it was way better because it knew what it was. It was like over the top, cheesy action heroes, all these different big name actors, all like quoting stuff and just making badass references. Like Chuck Norris literally shows up for 2 scenes just to say that he's a badass, and everybody just allows it to happen. But then there was the third one where they did something stupid and they were like, hey, let's make it PG 13 to appeal to a wider demographic. Okay, you've already fucked up because it's not going to go good. We're going to have less people. Wasn't the bad guy in that one Jean Claude Van Damme? Like, he did really well. It was him and Stallone that kind of carried the movie. But then it's like, look at all these new faces, and they're like celebrities from different things. I'm pretty sure one of them was like a female MMA fighter that I can't remember for the thought of it. That's how little impact she made. Like, why is it PG 13? Why is it like this? Where are all the badass action stars? Why isn't Dolph Lundgren in here saying, I must break you? Because he was in the first two. Where's the third one? There's just. There's missed opportunities, and then there's shitty movies. Alien, a groundbreaking movie of its time. Aliens, one of the best sequels of all time and one of the most legendary movies of all time. If anybody existed in the 80s, they will tell you that that was a movie that you needed to know about. Alien 3 starts out like it knows what it's doing, but after that, it just kind of shits the bed. And then all these like reboots and storytellings. There were some of them that like kind of did it, like Prometheus. It kind of knew what it was doing. Like it's supposed to be telling a story that will eventually lead up to like the surprise ending of something. And then there are ones that like they don't need. There are no unnecessary sequels. Like I know this is gonna sound stupid, but Kung Fu Panda. That sounds like a really stupid idea. But the first one was a great movie with a great choreography, the characters, the fight scenes, the badass villain. I cannot for the life of me stress how badass of a villain he was, and I loved him so much when I was a kid because when you're a kid, almost every single kid has anger issues, And it was always fun to see like a character get mad and like feel that like anger that made you like that like pushed you forward. And that's what I liked about the bad guy. The second one made a lot of sense. It was also well choreographed. It was really about finding inner peace for your mind, and it still had a great message. The third one is probably the weakest one, but that's like saying a 10, and a 9.8 are the exact same. And that's like the weakest one. Because it's all about like the first one, accepting who you are physically, accepting who you are mentally, and the last one is accepting who you are spiritually. You're all focused on just, I'm not good enough, I'm different, I'm out of my mind. Fixes everything about it and shows it through real methods. And it's such a good movie because there are characters that are really well executed, but the whole thing about the movie is that it was marketed in a weird ass way. They were always like, "Oh, look at the baby pandas for Kung Fu Panda 3," even though it was like a spiritual experience where you're trying to figure out how you can better yourself by accepting who you are. It's a big thing. You don't just then there's unnecessary sequels, and then there's unnecessary beginnings. I think the best one that I can think of is the first Superman movie, the one with Christopher Reeves. Really good movie. It was cheesy, but it also made sense, and it had a good tone to it. Second one, also pretty good, not as good as the next one. Third one was fun. I think the third one was the one with Richard Pryor, and it was decent. It was fun. You could watch it, but then the fourth one came out, and everybody was not having it that day. It was goofy. It was awful. It didn't take itself as seriously as it was, but it also made light of too many different things, and it had a really shitty concept. Not good. That's an unnecessary one. If he's like, oh, we made $100 million here, we made $90 million here, $80 million here. Let's stop where we're good. We don't need to make $70 million. We'll probably end up spending more than we need. We'll stop there. We'll take a step back, and we'll work on something else. We'll figure out what the first one did, and we'll work with that. But nowadays, the way that they make movies is they make these sequels they do such stupid shit. Like when they advertise them, it's advertising to something that's popular at the time. Um, like the best movies that are made are ones that aren't dated. Sure, they can have a reference here or there, but the ones that aren't dated by what they have in them are amazing. Like, um, a Goofy movie. I know it's a weird one to come out with, but if you've seen it, you know exactly why it's fun. There's a lot of things in it that are not products of their time. It makes sense why they're there because they're trying to like hyperbolize of the situation. But then there's like one thing that's in it that's actually like, this was made in the 90s. You can tell. You can tell. We were trying to pander to a certain demographic, and we made a few of them happy. And then as it ages, like, that guy didn't age too well. It was that one guy who, like, he sounded like a 90s partying dude. I don't even remember his name. But damn, like, if that character just, or you replaced him with a character that made jokes that were like snarky and funny, because sarcasm and nihilism exist since the beginning of time. Um, but humor like that, definitely not aging well. And that's what a lot of the sequels. That's what a lot of sequels they do. Sometimes they'll try to like capitalize on what's going on at the time by integrating in it what's going on in the movie. Like the first Starship Troopers, it was very much, it was a good movie, and it had a lot of things right about it, and it set up this whole thing where it's like, here's propaganda for what's going on in certain different things, but here's how we're going to make light of it by putting it into a movie. As the next movies came out, they slowly drifted away from like turning it into a propaganda film rather than a story in and to itself. They pushed too hard on certain things so they could make it into what it was. Essentially turning it into just not good. Not good. They pushed too hard on some ideas and then they ended up with shit. You push too hard, instead of farting and feeling better, you shit your pants. That's a weird analogy, but I'm sticking with it. And I'm trying to think of like some other ones. Uh, New age remakes or sequels that really shouldn't be a thing are so difficult. Like the Terminator movies. The first Terminator, a legendary movie. The second Terminator movie, in the same boat as Alien and Aliens. They did it so well, and they like pushed it forward into like what genre it was supposed to be. Then the third movie came out, and it kind of like wiggled its way past what it was doing. The first one, it's like the first one was a confident step and step and step. The second movie was a run. It turned into something that was more action filled. But then the third movie turned into like, oh shit, I stepped on a rock and now I can't get it out of my fucking shoe. So you're kind of running, but kind of like limping really fast on the other foot. And then Terminator Salvation came out and they forgot what the fuck Terminator was about. And then Terminator Genisys came out, which I know everybody didn't like, but I didn't mind it. It had some cool action scenes, but it was PG-13 in an R-rated franchise. And we're making it more family-friendly to certain people. Fuck you. Whoever decides to make PG-13 adaptations of R-rated things can go fuck yourself. That is an awful idea, and you're ruining the spirit of the characters. Sure, Deadpool is like, what if we made it into PG-13? Well, then he wouldn't have half the motivation he would have, because he's motivated by a lot of certain things, but most of them aren't child-friendly. Like, the reason I love Logan so much, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, because it embraces what the character is. Because the first time you see him in X-Men, you're like, oh, cool. He has like knives in his hand and he can like slash people, and you see him going up against people. He's like, oh, he's going up against people who are super tough or like weird, so maybe their skin's tougher. And then like the next few movies he's going up against like normal soldiers. But then like later on you're like, he has knives in his hand. Shouldn't he be like flat out murdering people? And then Logan came out and it's like, it's fucking amazing. Because it's characters that you've seen build up. It was a completely necessary sequel. Completely necessary. It is one of the best movies in the X-Men franchise, and I love it to death. Which is why I'm sad that the only poster I have of X-Men is the Days of Future Past one, which wasn't a bad movie, but could have been pushed. Could have been pushed a little further away. Then there are straight to DVDs, I feel like, are the worst case scenario for movies, for unnecessary ones. It's like, when did this come out? Oh, this came out 3 years ago. Didn't the franchise start in like 76? Yeah. When was the movie made? When was the last movie made before that? A year ago. What about the one before that? A year before that. Are they just cranking out unnecessary things? Yeah. Why? Because people keep buying them. No! you're gonna go big and at least make money. You're not gonna like record something on your camcorder in the backyard and then label it with like the Halloween logo and then throw it into the public. That's fucking stupid. You not only make $0 from it, you don't make nearly as much money as you should, but you're ruining the franchise by giving it like all those different things. There's there's so much that people feel like they can do that I feel like they shouldn't. I'm trying to think of other movies that have like good, solid situations, but then I feel like the most necessary thing to say about this is unnecessary sequels are the best way. Unnecessary seasons in shows. Walking Dead, I'm looking at you. I love your comic, but you're only in the farmhouse for one fucking book, and not even the entire book. You're only in it for not even the entire. It's a volume that's like 200 pages long. That's it. But you made an entire season out of it, and then you make more seasons about walking. There's interesting shit that happens in there, and you tried to make it quieter. Just because it can go for 50 seasons doesn't mean it should. I feel like I've talked about that for a minute. Remember when they made like old TV shows that didn't have unnecessary anything? Like, even the filler had meaning. Like those old. There are so many old TV shows that I wish I watched, but I never got a chance to. Or now that I have like a little bit more time and I have money, maybe I can go out and buy them, but there are so many that I wish I could have been a part of when I was a kid. Like, my biggest one, my absolute biggest one that I wish I could have seen as a kid is Samurai Jack. Because I never watched it and I wish I could have. There was so much to it that transferred over into something else. There was so much to it that I wish I could have known. Because I know it's a critical phenomenon and everybody loves it. And they even had to revive it for the last season on Adult Swim, and they made it a lot more. They made it adult focused because they knew that's where their core audience was now. But then, the one that I learned about recently because of the Nostalgia Critic is Duckman. Just Duckman. It's a show that has very modern. It has a very modern feel to it. It has the same like art style as sort of Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, that kind of thing, where it looks like it was sketched quickly. All the characters have like weird looks to them, where it's like you see that in a cartoon, it's like that's a duck. How do you know that's a duck? I don't know. I just I saw the yellow and then the long mouth. And I'm like, that's a bill duck. It's a duck. Right, but like the more you look at it, you're like, that's not a duck at all. That doesn't look anything like a duck. Right. It has like the way that you hear in like Rick and Morty, and this was one of the Nostalgia Critics' big things. It has this fast pace like gotta get the joke, gotta get the joke, 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 joke. And by the end of the monologue, that was like a minute and a half long, you realize, like, I just got hit with 5 different things, and I didn't know about any of them because I was too busy processing all of them. And then when it starts getting quiet, you're like, those were fucking amazing, but I didn't have time to laugh at them. And then they start getting into like the more serious things where you just kind of, you have to look back and see everything that's going on. And there's so much that I wish I could have seen. Um, the Clone Wars I know is easily accepted. I have Disney Plus, but I never find the chance to watch the Clone Wars. I wish I could. I heard it's amazing. I really want to watch it. Uh, Powerpuff Girls was a big one that I saw it for a second and then I like took a step back and I just never watched it again because when I found out about it, I was 10 and I had just like figured out like this is for boys, this is for girls. Avoid the girl things and keep watching this. And then I ended up watching Ben 10, which is not by any means a way of settling. Ben 10 was fucking cool. But the more I see like all these videos by different YouTubers saying like there's critical praise for this because it never panned to certain people, but it also helped other people. I'm like, yeah, as I looked back into it. But then like imagine that, like imagine you're like watching Powerpuff Girls as as like what I am, grown up. And then like your parents walk in and they're like, what's going on in here? I'm like, open up my laptop really quick, just watching porn. Porn. And that's out. Because there's no easy way to say that you're watching a show that's meant for kids. Like the first few seasons of SpongeBob were fucking amazing. And I grew up just at the time where they were coming out, so I could like watch it as a kid, and nobody would bat an eye if I watched it because SpongeBob isn't exactly meant for in the first few seasons. Everything up until the first movie, which is the best movie, and I will fight you. All of those time is like that. There's jokes in it meant for everybody. It's primarily targeted towards kids, but if you're sitting down watching it with your parents are gonna be like, "Heh." They'll laugh and like blow air out of their nose every once in a while. There's so much to it that I feel like I wish I could have been a part. That I wish I could have had the appreciation for going back and watching it. Then there is I'm trying to think of those other ones because I know there's more. My nose is starting to get like pressed up against this because like this little mask that I'm wearing is like pushing up against my nose, and then like every time I like lean down or lean up, it like pushes the thing back on my nose, and I have to like wiggle it around. I have to like open the thing up and wiggle my nose around just a little bit so it can feel like it's normal for a second. There's just so much that like it came just before my time, or it was airing during when I was a kid, during when I was like, congratulations, you get to move to a new house, but this house has the shittiest cable package ever. You can go play outside. I don't want to go play outside. I'm a little kid. I want to watch the cool things that are on, and then you like skip past them. And it sucks ass. Like Invader Zim, I never got to watch Invader Zim. I wish I could have. It seems like the show that would be meant for like. Among my friends, everybody I've ever talked to says like that is your type of sense of humor. Which that's not like a way of like, look at my character trait. People say that I like Invader Zim. Liking a TV show is not a character trait. Liking a genre of different things is a quality. But past that, you gotta go fucking get your own character trait. My nose is itching in this thing. Still not gonna take it off. Eat a dick. Don't, unless you want to. Your choice. Just so many. The Batman animated series is probably the Batman animated series, Justice League, all those different ones. There's so many that I wish I could have been a part of. Like the things that everybody starts out with, and everybody like, well, this was obviously the best thing ever when I was a kid. There's not much to it. There's not much to it. It's like, well, we're gonna remake it and show off. Why? Because everybody liked it then. Unless you get the original team of writers and people to come back to finish up where the story left off because of a cliffhanger, then you're out of your fucking mind. Like, if they made a final season of Avatar The Last Airbender, I would lose my mind. That was my shit when I was a kid. I've watched it 15 times. I love it to death. But there's some... But they left out on something that could have been a final season. They left off on a really, like, their best episodes were their last episodes. That doesn't mean everything before it wasn't that good. But like, we're crafting fucking diamonds every single time we make something. What are we gonna do for the last one? Oh, I'm saving that for later. And then once they get done crafting these diamonds of episodes, they get all the way to last episodes. What are we gonna make these out of? And then they pull out fucking like rubies, sapphires, diamonds, pure gold, crush it all up together, mix it with kryptonite, and then force it all together, and it's glowing, it's radiating, and it's fucking beautiful. But then at the very end of it, they leave off the possibility like there could have been another, or a statue even bigger than this. Give us that statue! We will pay you for that statue! No, we don't have the funding, and they walked away. Are you out of your mind? Give us that! So many kids shows I didn't get to appreciate when I was a kid because I didn't have the TV package to watch it. God damn. But some of them there were some things that like people liked that a lot of people didn't like for a lot of different reasons. This is my way of transitioning into Nickleback. Now I know this is becoming more and more of a better opinion, because like at first it was a big joke about like Nickelback sucks ass, but like I don't know if it's because of where I live or who raised me, but like they're not that bad. They're not as bad as everybody makes them out to be. He's like, oh yeah, they're sellouts. Like they could have done worse. And what do you mean they sold out? They made a few songs that sound alike. There's a lot of bands that have done that. They just decided to shit on that one because the guy is Canadian and his hair looks like ramen. That's the best excuse you got? Like, come on, man. Oh, well, he sounds like a douche. So what? He's doing okay. If there's a band that you should shit on, you should go find a reason to not like them, not just say, like, I guarantee if I went into a crowd of 1,000 people, of 50,000 people, every single one of them from a different part of the United States, from different parts of North America, from different parts of North, South America, all the people in Europe, I could go up to them, stand in front of them, and sing the words, "This is how you remind me," and then hold it out, and they would immediately come back with, "Of what I really am." And, like, I have done that. I did that for my school had a talent show when I was still in high school. Somebody, they're like, what do you want your talent to be? And I was like, I want to do stand up. And they're like, all right. I went up there and I showed off. I went up there, I practiced my thing, and my very last joke was about Nickelback and how they weren't that bad. It was pretty much what I'm doing right now, but more like written down and understood. So what I did is I went up there and I told this, and I was holding the microphone and I said, "This is how you remind me." And I held out the microphone and the entire crowd sang back, "Of what I really am." And you can't, like, that's majority rules right there. 70% of those people knew the lyrics. You don't remember the lyrics of something unless it gets stuck in your head. And unless it gets stuck in your head, then it may be pretty catchy. Now, I know there are some songs out there that are pieces of shit, and then they have, like, really simple lyrics that everybody remembers. Number one, it's the name of a fashion company, and another word for group. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. It's Gucci Gang. That's stupid fucking thing. It's just a guy saying the same two words over and over and over again until eventually he needs to take a breath and he says like 6 other words. Then he goes back to saying that. It's fucking stupid. Stupid. And but like there's a complexity to at least whatever Chad Kroeger is saying, and he still gets it out perfectly. And you can't deny his voice isn't really good. He has that. If he decides to hit like a louder pitch, he can yell like deep lung diaphragm, pushing on the lungs, forcing everything out, and it comes out like yeah. Like that's a weird example because I don't know how my voice translates over microphones because I think it sounds cool, but I don't know what everybody else hears. Plus, it sounds weird because I'm wearing the mask. But it's just we. There's still like he has that yell that makes it to where like once he starts getting loud or he hits like a high note and he just goes yeah, and he like that internal scream of just yeah, yeah, that is really awesome to me. It just comes off as like genuine. This is like whatever emotion he's feeling is conveyed in a scream, and it sounds really good. I'm gonna just checking my timer. 41 minutes, a little bit shorter. But yeah, like nobody ever told me why they hate them. They're like they're sellouts. I'm like so are other people, and they still love them. There are people that sold out the second they got big, and they still sell platinum records. Elvis fucking sold out and changed up everything that he did, but we still all sing a little less conversation, a little more action. That was during his sellout years, and we still all know that. Yeah, that was a little bit more of a rant than anything else, but not a bad one. Gotta say, I feel like I reflect on the end of every episode, at the end of every episode of what I do, but yeah, still fun. It kind of like grounds me back to like what I'm doing and making sure that everything turns out okay. But yeah, all right. See you again tomorrow. I've been the RedSon, and I'm gonna go ahead and set for today. Bye, guys.